on this Wednesday. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this local news update. News today brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and by Connexus, providing fiber internet to Clinton. Learn more at DeWittDailyNews.com. The city of Lincoln recently took over its own tourism, and one of the first major victories of that decision will be on display in the spring. Lincoln Mayor Tracy Welch explains the first major project of the new tourism department is an immersive Route 66 train exhibit located in downtown Lincoln in the old State Bank building. He notes the exhibit was donated by a man from Chicago, and people will get to experience what it's like to travel the historic highway across the 8 states it spans.
The big thing we're working on to kick it off is, the best way to describe it is, it's a Route 66 train exhibit that it's immersive. It'll give you the experience of traveling Route 66 in one location across all 8 states. There's statues and neon signs and replicas of a lot of the things you would see on Route 66. And we actually had that exhibit donated to us from a gentleman in Chicago, and we had to have a place to put it. So we had a really big bank building down here that's been sitting empty for a few years. It's the old State Bank building on Broadway Street, and the city council agreed that we could use hotel motel money, purchase that building, and we're going to use it for tourism. Part of that building is going to be used for economic development initiatives. We're trying to create an incubator for businesses to have a place to come get all the information they need, startups, things like that. So a lot going on. There will be some demo we're going to have to do in the lobby, but the exhibit that we are having donated to us, it's a pretty big exhibit. But we also have some plans for other things that we want to put in there. I mean, if you've ever been to Pontiac, Illinois and seen their museum, that thing's been curated over 10 years. We're at the ground floor. This is our first big thing. We want it ready by the spring of 26 to get ready for Route 66 centennial celebration that people will be traveling through.
The city does not own the building yet, but Mayor Welch believes they will have possession of it by this November. Pending ownership of the building, the city plans to assemble the exhibit over the winter months.
We believe that we'll have possession of it around November, if not sooner. So we're still working out some of the details, but we figure we'll work over the winter months, get it all set up the way it needs to be. You know, it's one thing to take apart an exhibit that's been curated over 20 years. It's another to put it back together in another space that in the same manner. So we got that. But, you know, the other things have been going on, not necessarily Lincoln tourism related, but we did just, if you see, we got this really big Melacream donut now on Route 66, right in the parking lot of Melacream. And the Lincoln letters, we call them, they're just white letters that say Lincoln, but those are installed at the Melacream property as well on Kickapoo. Yeah, they're already mounted. The idea is, if you stand in front of them, the backdrop is the welcome park with our, recently installed mural of Lincoln with the courthouse dome over the top of the building. So it's a really, really cool setup.
Mayor Welch reminds the city moved to open its own tourism department and separate itself from the Logan County Tourism Department. Part of the decision was hiring Scott McCoy, who has successfully promoted Route 66 tourism in both Pontiac and Atlanta.
The city of Lincoln recently made the decision to start a tourism department at the city, and we've hired a gentleman named Scott McCoy. And people who are not familiar with Scott, he's had a really big hand in the success of Atlanta, Illinois, and Pontiac, Illinois tourism. He was the mayor of Pontiac at one time, and I've been talking with Scott for a while, and we just made the decision to use the hotel motel tax funding that we have in the city and embark on this journey. We think we can do some really fun things with it, things that haven't been done in our community before, and so we've been working on that.
Mayor Welch has big dreams for tourism in the city of Lincoln, and we'll have more on that in the days ahead on Regional Radio. A Piatt County School District will extend a program piloted this past spring for students who are struggling. Earlier this spring, Monticello School Superintendent Adam Clapp indicated the district approved an intergovernmental agreement with the Regional Office of Education that continues a pair of programs already in place and extends a program they piloted in the spring that had a great deal of success.
Each year, we sign an intergovernmental agreement for our safe schools, our Futures Unlimited, and option 3, which are alternative schools indicator that students have the option to go to in some cases. Milligan Academy is our safe school. Futures Unlimited is our school for students who may be in jeopardy of dropping out of high school. It's a more of an accelerated program and a support system. And then option 3 is new. Option 3 is for students who are chronically truant. But the addition that we piloted this year, this spring, is a ALOP program, alternative learning program, that provided a student liaison to work with us on our campuses. So we had a student liaison come to Monticello schools starting in March, basically worked the last 3 months of the school year as a pilot program. This person works with students who may have some behavior challenges or need extra academic support, or maybe some executive functioning, organization, skill building.
Clapp says the program, quote, blew their expectations out of the water, and notes the person in the school is an employee of the Regional Office of Education.
It blew our expectations out of the water. We felt it was going to be a very positive program, adding someone to support some of our students who need that support in classrooms, or just, maybe sometimes it's just a matter of helping organizing a locker and having a person to be there and support. We thought it was going to be great. It exceeded our expectations. So we're excited to have that program roll out next fall as a full year program. This person is an employee of the ROE. The title is a student liaison, and it's just been really awesome.
The program is aimed at 4th through 12th graders, and Clapp says one of the success stories shows the program's effectiveness.
So what we did, we recognized individuals who may have struggled let's just talk about homework, for example. At our middle school and high school, we had several students who were struggling to complete homework assignments. Even with our layered support from our teachers, they were still struggling with that. Well, this was another layer of support of someone who is sitting, one-on-one working with the student, and sometimes just helping them turn an assignment in. And one example that we've talked about several times in our admin meetings, and we shared with the Regional Office of Education, is we had a student who struggling to come to school and had 13 zeros. So just not doing any work and not coming to school. Within 2 weeks of working with our student liaison, this student was at school every day and did not have any missing assignments. And it just showed us that all it took was the right person having that right conversation in a one-on-one setting that motivated the student to come to school, and then not only come to school, but be present and doing the work. And that's what this program did, and really just turned several of our students around. This program goes 4th grade all the way through 12th grade. So Whiteheath, the middle school and high school all benefit from having this student liaison.
Clapp indicates this is just one of several partnerships Monticello Schools has with the Regional Office of Education. Early summer brings a wealth of options for fresh produce, but what do we do when the season comes to an end? Caitlin Mellendorf is a nutrition educator with the University of Illinois Extension in DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties, and explains canning is a great method of preserving produce, and some takes very little equipment or even previous knowledge.
So if you're planning to do recipes that would require pressure canning, or you want to use a recipe designed for steam canning, you do need those particular pieces of equipment. But if you want to do recipes that are water bath canning, so this is typically things like jams and jellies, canning fruits, so maybe you want to make applesauce or canned peaches. Also, peaches are just going at it right now. They're so good. Those recipes are something you can do with just a standard stock pot you have in your house, as long as it's tall enough to cover your jars by a couple inches of water, plus a little, a couple inches of just airspace in the pot. You can actually just use pots that you have around your house. Again, as long as they're the right size and height for those techniques, you absolutely can.
Freezing is also a good way to keep produce fresh. Mellendorf explains the purpose of freezing goods is to lower the temperature enough to prevent bacterial growth. This does at times change the texture of food.
Freezing is about just reducing the temperature of those foods to the point where bacteria just can't start to decompose on them, right? If you leave an apple or a peach out on the counter, eventually mold is going to grow, and there's other enzymes in there that are going to lead to decomposition and just that fruit turning into a pile of mush. Then we can turn to freezing. So we can reduce the temperature, and then bacteria just won't be able to grow in them. They won't decompose that food. The challenge, though, is that freezing, we've probably all experienced freezer burn over time. Some things can still change color. So we find that, like apples, if you leave them out, more varieties anymore are being bred so that they don't brown as quickly. But there are some varieties that will still brown really heavily. And so we can do techniques to help prevent browning while they're in the freezer. And also it does change the texture a little bit. So if you are wanting a banana, you're never going to get the same fresh taste of a banana right out of the freezer. So, but you can then use that for other things. Maybe you're going to make banana bread, something where you don't care about the original structure of the banana, right? If you're going to make bread or you're going to add it into oatmeal or something else, freezing is a great way to preserve those extras, especially if you can't seem to buy in small quantities. So if maybe there happens to be, a sale on peaches and they're going to give you a good amount, it's a great reason to pull out, a canner or a freezer, or even maybe you want to pull out a dehydrator.
Dehydration is the practice of drying foods to entirely remove water from them. This can change the texture, color, and even flavor of produce, but Mellendorf points to the process of turning grapes into raisins as the most common example. The benefit is the ability to store dried foods at room temperature,
where we're removing water from those foods. And again, bacteria just can't gnaw on those. And so we preserve that food really well. Also, we see some changes in color if we don't treat those foods. And of course, texture, right? A grape is never going to taste like a raisin, and that's okay. But again, it gives you that flexibility of storing those at room temperature, right? So you don't have to use a valuable refrigerator or freezer space. You just have to be able to put those in your cabinet. So some foods like herbs, for example, you can hang those up well, maybe not today because it's super humid, but you can hang those herbs upside down and they will dry within a couple of days to a week, depending on how humid your environment is. So that would be one way to do a food without a dehydrator. You can use your oven if your oven will go on a very low setting. So some ovens don't go that low. And I know my oven has a warm setting, but I've never put a thermometer in there to check what that warm setting actually turns into temperature wise. But you would have your oven opened. You would set a fan next to it to kind of recreate the air movement of an electric dehydrator. And that will eventually dehydrate your food. Now, it does warm up your oven, or because you have to turn your oven on, so your house might get a little bit warmer, but it would be an option. And then solar drying works in some cases if you can time it just right so that it's not raining, it's not at a certain humidity. So for Illinois in the summer, solar drying is really, really hard to do.
Mellendorf's final tip for preserving foods is fermentation. Common examples of this practice are foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, and even drinks like kombucha. Fermentation encourages the growth of beneficial bacteria, which in turn stops harmful bacteria from growing.
And then our last one is fermentation, which is creating an environment that allows for beneficial bacteria to grow. And they will start to chew on those foods that you're fermenting and burping out CO2 that helps reduce the acidity or increase the acidity of that food and preserves it. So other types of bacteria that might harm us can't grow. So this is usually done with salt. So thinking things like sauerkraut, we're putting that salt and cabbage in a jar and letting it ferment for a week to a month, depending on the size of the container. And then you've got a preserved product that you can eat on. That cabbage is going to last a lot longer than just fresh.
For tips on keeping food fresh, visit extension.illinois.edu/DMP and check out the classes Mellendorf has to offer. News time is 23 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Wednesday. Plenty more to get to coming up on the morning show.
Is the summer heat getting to you? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City, inviting you to cool down in a new Chevy. We have cool new crossovers like the Chevy Equinox or hot new trucks like the Chevy Silverado 1500, which has up to $7,500 in extra savings over our regular discounts. See all our inventory and prices online. And don't forget, We need and would love to trade yours in. Chevrolet, together let's drive. BombChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Experience the power of better connection with Connexus Fiber Internet. Connexus delivers ultra-fast, reliable speeds to keep you connected at the speed of life. Whether you're working from home, streaming your favorite shows, or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to fiber fast internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
News time is 24 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Wednesday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. The Illinois Farm Families Coalition is looking for 2026 farmer ambassadors. Illinois Farm Bureau Consumer Engagement Manager Gracie Pearson says applications will be accepted through September 8th at watchusgrow.org/ambassadors.
The Illinois Farm Families Coalition launched this project 2 years ago now, just as an opportunity for us to glean more real-time content from farmers. If you think about it, the coalition, we all have office jobs. We're all communicators. We all have a ton of things on our plate, and sometimes it's really difficult to get to the farm at the precise point you need to grab a video. We also know that there's a lot of farmers and their family members out there that are creating a lot of really great content on their own. Sometimes they just need some prompts on what to talk about, or maybe just some tips and pointers on learning how to edit videos better, create some more engaging social media content. So the coalition feels that it's a mutually beneficial partnership. We're empowering farmers out there who want to be engaged on social media, engage consumer audiences. But then Illinois Farm Families gets the opportunity to get a lot of great real-time content from literally the lens of farmers across Illinois. So excited to continue this program. It's actually been one of our more successful programs in recent years. Some of our most popular social media content across all of our platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So we do have the applications open now. You can find that on the Illinois Farm Families website. It's watchusgrow.org/ambassadors. It's a lengthy application. We want to learn more about you, about your farm, about what you're already doing on social media, and then where you think you could go and grow with social media. And partnering with Illinois Farm Families is part of that.
The Illinois Farm Families Coalition includes the Illinois Beef Association, the Illinois Corn, Illinois Farm Bureau, Illinois Pork Producers Association, the Illinois Soybean Association, and Midwest Dairy. Many rural fire departments throughout Illinois are being challenged with staffing issues. It's something Dave Newcomb hears about in his role with the Illinois Fire Service Institute.
Yes, as I travel around the state, everybody is struggling with manpower and help. We live in a busy society, and it's hard to carve out time, especially when you're volunteering your time. I heard one individual tell me a long time ago, I can't get people to work for $25 an hour. How am I going to get them to volunteer their time? So it is a real challenge. And some of the ways that the departments are dealing with that is they're doing what's called automatic aid or mutual aid, in that if a department gets a fire or something, they automatically call 2 or 3 departments at the same time to be able to get the help that they need. Being a first responder and all that is a calling. It's kind of got to be in your heart. You got to be a servant. And one of the biggest challenges is that you're dealing with somebody at their worst time. They're either losing property or loved ones, and it can be a stressful situation, and it can be a demanding situation, and it takes its toll on people. And one of the things we learn over the years is that if I'm responding to that call, there's a real good chance I'm going to know the person that I'm going to help. And the other thing is that it is a huge demand on training. It is a big commitment to join a department and all that, to be able to do the basic training and all that it's needed. And people it's sometimes don't realize what they're getting into.
Not only is there a demand for volunteer firefighters in rural areas, but EMTs are also in need to staff rural ambulances. News time, 28 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Wednesday. Time now for a look at this morning's obituaries. 95-year-old Wanda M. Lorash of Oriena passed away July 15th at her home in Decatur. Services for 96-year-old Wanda M. Lorash will be at 11 a.m. Saturday, July 19th at Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton, with the Reverend Dan Perry officiating. The burial will follow at Pleasant Valley Cemetery in Kenny. Memorials can be directed to Oriena Christian Church. 40-year-old Crystal Annette Polk of Bloomington passed away July 19th at her family home in Bloomington. A visitation for 40-year-old Crystal Annette Polk will be from 10 to noon Saturday, July 26th at Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton. A private burial will be at Troutman Poland Cemetery in DeWitt. Memorials can be directed to Home Sweet Home Ministries of Bloomington or to an animal shelter of the donor's choice. News time, 29 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Wednesday. Coverage of news brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and Connexus, providing fiber internet to Clinton. Learn more at DeWittDailyNews.com.